Do you know why people never truly saw you before? Chosen one? Have you ever wondered why you could stand in a room full of people filled with light and power and still feel invisible? The truth is, it was never because you lacked anything. The shift you were waiting for was never about the world changing. The real shift happened inside you. There was a time when you walked through life hoping someone else would notice you, hoping someone would see the fire and strength you carried. You watched others receive attention, affection, and praise, and you questioned what they had that you didn't. You tried to copy their ways, tried to adjust your voice, your walk, your energy, thinking that maybe if you mirrored them, you too would be seen. But every time you did that, you stepped further away from the truth of who you are, and further away from the unforgettable light you were born with. People didn't fully see you, not because you weren't worthy, but because you were hiding. You were covered in your own doubt, dimmed by the quiet belief that maybe you weren't enough. But then, something changed. The light you were searching for didn't come from outside of you. It broke open from within. The moment you stopped waiting for the world to approve of you, the moment you stopped shrinking yourself to feel safe, the moment you stopped trying to be chosen, that was when everything shifted. You chose yourself. And that is when people began to notice what they had once overlooked. They didn't notice you because you said the perfect words or changed your appearance. They noticed because your energy became undeniable. What was once scattered and restless became calm and steady. What once leaked out in all directions anchored itself deep inside you. That anchoring made you magnetic. You started walking into the same rooms that once felt cold and empty. But now your presence was felt before you spoke a word. Your silence carried weight. Your gaze held gravity. You stopped chasing attention. And that's when attention started finding its way to you. You stopped trying to convince the world of your worth because you finally believed it yourself. And that belief is what changed everything. Now, people don't just see you, they feel you. In a world full of noise and distraction, your steady presence stands out. What was once overlooked is now deeply desired, not because you became someone else, but because you stopped hiding who you've always been. There is a glow in you now, not the kind that can be painted on with style or smiles or charm. It is deeper, older, quieter. A glow that people feel in their bones when they are near you. And that glow didn't come from anything outside. It came from the moment you stopped looking for light in the world and allowed your own fire to burn. You used to believe you had to look or act a certain way to be worthy of attention. You measured your worth by how others reacted to you. And each time their reaction wasn't what you hoped for, a part of you dimmed. But that fire inside, you never went out. It waited. And now, your glow no longer asks for permission to exist. It simply is. You walk into the world no longer hoping to be lit by admiration. You arrive already shining, not from ego, not from arrogance, but from the quiet fire of someone who finally trusts in what he carries. Your energy is no longer tied to how others see you. It rests within you like the sun waiting for dawn. That steadiness has changed everything. People feel it in the way you stand, without asking to be accepted. They feel it in the way you look at them, without needing anything back. They feel it in the way you don't ask the moment to give you love, You bring love to the moment. You no longer try to convince the room to accept you. You are the light the room rearranges itself around. The glow they feel from you is not on your skin, it's in your spirit, and it can't be copied, bought, or stolen. It comes only from the moment you stopped waiting for the world to see you and finally decided to see yourself. That is what they feel now. That is why they come closer. Because what you carry is not for show, it's truth. You used to enter rooms like a question, unsure of your place, unsure of your value. You watched others hold attention and wondered what they had that you lacked. You adjusted your tone, your posture, your timing, trying to fit in, hoping for approval. But that season is over. You no longer chase the room. You center it. You enter quietly, calmly, and everything begins to shift. You don't search for validation. You don't perform for connection. You know what you carry, and people respond to your presence, not your performance. That presence didn't come from popularity or charm. It came from the quiet hours you spent with yourself, when no one was watching, learning to breathe in your own silence. From the moments you stripped away the masks and asked, "Who am I?" when no one is clapping? And now, that man has come forward, not fragile, but strong. Women feel it first, not with their eyes, but deep within. They don't feel pressured or pushed. They feel safe. That safety doesn't come from your words. It comes from your steady, non-reactive presence. You no longer try to own the moment. You hold it. Conversations lean toward you. Silence becomes peaceful. Eyes linger, not because you ask them to, but because you don't need them to anymore. You don't need to prove yourself. You take your place in the moment, as if it has always belonged to you. Because it does. You are the storm without the wind, the flame that warms without burning, the center that remains steady while the world moves around it. That peace, that calm, is what draws people in, not fantasy, not infatuation, but peace, the rarest and most powerful presence of all. You used to believe power was about being loud, about reaching, about showing strength. But now you know that real power is quiet. It is steady. It doesn't ask. It simply is. You don't need to reach anymore. You don't need to prove. You walk into rooms and speak softly, if at all. You sit in silence and do not shrink. You listen with stillness. You move with calm. And in every action, you send a message. I know who I am. I need nothing from you to prove it. That is not arrogance. That is peace. And peace is power. They mocked you once. With words, with silence, with smirks, with absence. And for a time, you believed them, not because they were right, but because you forgot who you were. But the truth is, you never lost your worth. What you lost was the belief that you needed them to see it. What you shed was not your power. It was your need for their approval. The shedding felt painful, but it was not death. It was birth. They weren't walking away from your truth. They were walking away from your confusion. And now, with that confusion gone, your truth shines. You are not a comeback story. You are a clarity story. You didn't rise from ashes. You stopped hiding in someone else's fire. And now that man walks free, not asking to be seen, but simply being. And that is what no one can ignore anymore. Your energy no longer feels scattered and lost. Your breath has become slow, deep, and calm. Your gaze is soft, not because you are weak, but because now you are fully here. You are present in a way that cannot be denied. There was a time when you kept wondering why people didn't choose you, why you felt invisible, why no one seemed to see the value in you. You thought maybe you were lacking, maybe you weren't enough. But now you understand the truth. They didn't overlook you because you weren't worthy. They didn't choose you because you weren't fully here yet. You hadn't yet stepped into your full self. You hadn't yet arrived in your own presence. But now you have. Now you stand whole, clean, clear, and real. Now you are complete. And when people look at you today, they don't see someone new. They see the man you have always been, but who is hidden beneath layers of apology, doubt, and trying too hard. You are no longer covered in the need to please or the need to be chosen. You were never meant to be consumed or used. You were always meant to be recognized. But that recognition could not come until you stopped hiding behind the masks you thought made you desirable. Now that those masks are gone, people no longer see you as a loser. The only thing you've lost is the illusion that you are ever anything less than divine. There was a time when you carried the word misfit like a scar. You felt out of place not because you truly didn't belong, but because no one knew where to put a man like you. You didn't fit into their ideas of what a man should be. You weren't predictable. You didn't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You didn't become loud in the hollow ways some think strength looks like. You were different. And because of that, people kept their distance. They didn't understand your silence. They questioned why you were so intense. They mistook your honesty for awkwardness. They called you strange, too soft, too deep, too much. And that made you wonder if maybe something really was wrong with you. But now, when you look back, you smile, because what they once called strange, they now call mysterious. What they once avoided, they now move toward. You didn't change who you are at the core. What changed is the way you hold yourself. You stopped seeing yourself as a problem that needed fixing. You started seeing yourself as a truth that doesn't need to be watered down for anyone. Your high energy that once felt wild and out of control now lives inside you like a steady, quiet fire. It moves beneath your skin like warm thunder. It no longer leaks out in ways that make you uncomfortable. It no longer pushes or rushes. It waits. It listens. It chooses. You don't over-explain yourself anymore. You don't rush to fill silence. You don't try so hard to prove you belong. Because you finally know that you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. And now, standing out doesn't feel lonely. It feels right. People don't know how to define you, and they love that. They lean closer. They slow down, not out of confusion, but out of fascination. You don't share everything at once. Not because you're trying to play a role, but because you no longer feel the need to. Your presence itself is an invitation. Your gaze holds steady, not pulling, just being. Your energy makes space. The same man they once judged quietly, they now whisper about in longing. The more they try to label you, the more they realize you are beyond labels. You were never here to be put in a box. You are always here to be felt, and that feeling stays with them long after you've gone. They return to it again and again without knowing why. They don't call you awkward anymore. Now they say you're calm. Now they say you're different. What they really mean is that they don't fully understand you, but they feel more at peace around you than they do with anyone else. That's the mystery you carry now. And that is why you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to awaken something in others that they forgot was even alive inside them. And now, you do. There was a time when silence felt like punishment to you, when you stood at the edge of the room, not because you had nothing to say, but because no one made space for you. You watched others talk and laugh so easily, and you wished for one small opening, one small invitation. But instead, you felt the heavy cloak of being overlooked. You weren't invisible, but you weren't seen. And you started to wonder if maybe you had to change who you were. You tried to be louder. You tried to be funnier. You tried to act like everyone else. But no matter how hard you tried, none of it fit. Every attempt to please pulled you further from yourself. Each fake laugh, each overreaching joke, each forced smile, it all drained you. Your voice became unsure. Your energy felt like it was begging for a yes. But deep down, something in you refused to give up. Something in you kept whispering, wait, just wait. And you listened. You stepped back, not to hide, but to heal. You stepped back so you could remember who you are. And in the quiet you once feared, you found richness. You found the soil where something sacred could grow. Now, when you walk into those same spaces, everything has changed. People notice you're calm. They start the conversations. They lean toward you first. Your energy no longer chases or grasps. It invites. You don't have to ask, do you see me? Your presence says, you'll feel me whether you look or not. And they do. You no longer try to be chosen. You have chosen yourself. Your stillness speaks louder than words. And now, the world moves toward that stillness. People may think you changed everything about yourself. They may think you changed how you walk, how you talk, how you look. But you know the truth. You didn't become someone new. You took off the layers that never belonged to you. You stopped apologizing for how your soul moves. And now they say you're different. But you're not. You're just no longer pretending to be less. The man they overlooked was always there. The energy was always yours. But you had buried it under hesitation, under trying too hard, under shrinking so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable. Now you know the truth. You were the yes you were waiting for. And that's what they feel now. Not because you've added anything, because you've let go of everything that wasn't you. You don't try to please. You don't speak to impress. You don't exist to be followed. You exist as someone who quietly knows his own worth. And that knowing reaches farther than any performance ever could. Women don't just feel drawn to you. They feel changed by being near you. They feel it in their breath when you enter a room. They feel it in their body even when you say nothing. You don't need them to complete you. You are already whole. And that is what they sense. That is what draws them in. You don't chase attention. You simply are. And that is what makes people turn toward you. You are not a copy. You are the original. You didn't change to be liked. You dared to be yourself fully. And that's why they finally see you. Not because they learned to look, but because you stopped hiding your light. You didn't become someone new. You became home to yourself. And that's the real glow people feel when they are near you.